Good afternoon, lovely spirits. It's the wise servant here, Mr. Solace. And it's a beautiful, lovely day outside. And I'm in peaceful, humbled spirits today. So today I want to do this very deep video called The Work of the Devil. Now, it doesn't matter if you believe in God or the devil, but we've all heard that phrase, the work of the devil. You may have seen someone doing something and another person will say, that's the work of the devil. So we've all heard that phrase before. And we've all heard the story of the fallen angels and how they were cast away, or they separated themselves from the all of life. And they came down and they taught men all the sacred arts of how to work the metal and arts and crafts. And they taught them how to extract dye and beautify the eyelids. And they taught them all the things that we know now, all the sacred arts. Now, we know men don't like taking responsibility for their actions, so they'll point their fingers at anyone they can. And when they run out of people to point their fingers at, they'll make up invisible characters and say, they did it, they taught us. We didn't learn that knowledge on our own. The fallen angels taught us, those invisible 300 men, they taught us this. It wasn't us. And we know this is how men truly are. But we're going to stick with the perspective of men and say the fallen angels came down and they taught men all the sacred arts. Now, I want y'all to grasp something so deep. You have arts and crafts in the working of the metals. And this is what the fallen taught men. Arts and crafts in the working of the metals. Now, we know all beings on the planet, whether bird, fish, monkey, whale, whatever, all beings on the planet eat, us included. And all beings eat with their hands, no utensils included. And this includes us. Before utensils, we ate with our hands, just like everything else on the planet. And this is an energy flow, and everything is flowing the same. Now, men don't eat with their hands anymore, but everything else still flows the same. So now the fallen taught men arts and crafts. And when making arts and crafts, the first thing that was made was eating utensils, because men have to eat throughout the day, every day. So the first thing that was made was a fork. And I know a lot of y'all are like, a fork? Well, Satan's pitchfork. This is where that comes from. This is why Satan has the pitchfork. Because this is the working of the metals. This is arts and crafts. This is the first thing that was made, a eating utensil, a fork. And it's a deep thing you have to grasp. And this caused a divide between men and all other things on the planet. This caused us to go one way while everything else is going the other. And this was the first beginnings. And from arts and crafts and making forks and spoons, the next thing you know, you get knives and swords, and you get weapons and jewelry and all types of things. And this disconnects you from the planet in the order and way that everything else moves, because nothing else wears jewelry or uses weapons. But in having weapons and things like this, then the knowledge of making clothing is understood from the animal's hide. Now, all beings on the planet are free of clothing, and this included men. Men didn't wear clothes. The knowledge was acquired, and animals were skinned, and their hide was made into clothing. And this caused another disconnect from the flow that all of the life moves in. This caused the disconnect for men more. So you have to grasp how every physical thing we indulged in, all the knowledge that's been acquired over the years, caused a disconnect. So I know a lot of y'all will say, man, I don't see where knowledge of understanding the metals and how to fashion them, how is this evil? Well, it's not a matter of it being evil, but it's a matter of where it leads and how it disconnects you from the flow of everything else in the life. That's the problem. When you begin to eat with utensils and you begin to wear clothing, you're using life. Animals being killed, the hide is being worn. This leads to status and pride and all types of different things. So it's not a matter of what's being taught, but where it leads and how it disconnects us from the flow that everything in the life is going. So it's like I said, everything in the life eats with their hands, and men did too. And so the fork and utensils was made, and this caused us to go one way while the life continued another. Then clothings were made, and this is added on to the disconnect. The life is still going one way, and we're into that. And it keeps going. Men begin to get knowledge of the root of plants and how to extract the nutrients from the root and what they do and what they're good for. And then they begin to mix them with other plants and other roots. And it's like anything. You got the duality. You got good from that and you get bad from that. And this is the problem, because the life produces what it produces. And when you begin to mix and mingle things, some will be good for the life and it will enhance it, while other things will be detrimental to it. And this is where the knowledge leads. It leads to a disconnect from the life in the flow. So the more physical knowledge that's acquired, the more is lost from the spiritual, astral aspect of life, which is all. So when we see men uncivilized, eating with their hands and naked, we call people like that uncivilized. They're not using, they may not even have language. They don't write. They don't do any of the physical things that we do. And we say they're uncivilized. They're not that smart. It's not that they're not smart. They're wise in spirit, as you are wise in physical. So when you're indulging into the physical knowledge and aspect of things, in your skinning the animal and you're making leather garments, and they're beautiful. And you have to be wise to understand this. But this takes away from the spirit and the morals and the principles of the spirit. Because the spirit is not wearing the garment. The spirit is just looking at a life was taken. The principle and morals of a thing. So the more knowledge that is received, the more disconnected from the spiritual aspect of life we become. So it's the disconnect. You know, everything I said is truth, because the story of Satan is basically he was disconnected from the all. And then as you see, the fork, how it disconnects you from the flow of all other living beings on the planet. So you know what I'm saying is not a lie or made up. It has a point. This is why those things that were mentioned, that were taught, were seen as a sin or evil, because it's not that the knowledge that was given was evil, but where it leads and how it disconnects you from the life and the flow of things. Because animals and everything else on the planet still eat with their hands. They don't wear clothes. They're not lost into the physical aspect of the life as we do. Yet they still live and maneuver and they flourish. So you have to grasp. We make GPS. They have built-in GPS, which we have also. But in you having GPS, it takes away from the real. So the fake takes away from the real. It disconnects you. It's like in my day, we were all good at math and adding, and the kids now can barely count. But they have phones and all these devices that do it for them. So in the physical knowledge, they're good, but it takes away from the thought, which is of the spirit. And it's a deep thing you have to grasp. All physical things, no matter how small, that we indulge in, is a result of a disconnect. It causes a disconnect. So I know y'all may think, man, a fork, how is a fork evil? And why does Satan have a pitchfork? That's why. Because the knowledge was passed down. And the first things that were made were eating utensils, the most simplest things in life. Forks, spoons, and you say, man, how is that evil? How can a fork and a spoon be evil? It helps us eat better and be more clean. And that's good. But it also disconnects you from the flow of life and how everything else eats hand to mouth as you did. Now you're doing something different and you're going the other direction of the life. And that's not a big deal, but every small piece adds on. So then the clothing comes. This brings about pride and status. And now you're disconnected because you're going this way more now. The life is still living naked. You're going this way. Body begins to come out of whack with the temperature. So it's a deep thing you have to grasp. Every little thing causes its effect. All the physical knowledge we know is great, but it causes a disconnect from the all of the life, which is the spiritual aspect of things. And it's a deep thing you have to grasp. The work of the devil is all the things you see. So we're far technologically, and we view ourselves as advanced, but we don't have any knowledge of the spiritual. And this is why everything we do and all the knowledge we have, it seems to be lacking something. There's something missing. We just can't grasp that last cube. And this is why you have to know things from the root. What is the root of a person? The seed, the spirit. Just like an apple. The seed within the apple is the root, the core of what the apple is. And in understanding the seed, understanding the apple is nothing. So we're completely out of whack with the spiritual aspect of understandings. And it doesn't matter how technologically or physically advanced in knowledge we become, it will always be off cue from the life. So you begin to go into sci-fi and off track and trail of order of the life. And this is why everything we explain and describe is like a sci-fi movie. This is why we have sci-fi movies, because this is the perspective we see things. And this is because of all those physical things that's been created and made. The more physical and more higher in technology we get, the more disconnected from the life we become. It's a deep thing I have to grasp. Technology and all this physical stuff means nothing knowing that you're going to die. It's not like you're going to live here 1,000 years or 500. You live here maybe 50 to 100 years if you're lucky. So being lost in the physical and all the divine knowledge of it truly means nothing when all is astral. So you have to grasp, it's a deep thing. Knowledge is good, but the spirit must be in order. And the spirit must be in the same energy flow and frequency as all other things in life. So you have to be able to observe and perceive what you see. You see all other things on the planet move how they move. And you know we moved in that same way. And you see how we're disconnected and we go another way now. This takes away from knowledge. Because when we were moving in the order of the life, we understood the other life. You understood the animal. You could communicate with the animal. You could do like George Washington Carver and communicate with the plant or the flower. You could do this because you were moving in the same order and energy and flow as all things. But once you start to go this way, there becomes a separation, a gap between the two. And this is why it's hard for y'all to truly understand. Y'all like, no, I can learn more from Google than I can from an animal. I can't talk to an animal. But at one point in time you could. And no matter how far-fetched that may sound, you have to grasp how far-fetched your technology is from reality. When you're speaking on the phone, you're talking to somebody that's nowhere near you. That's far-fetched, but it's real. And it's the same with the spiritual aspect. You spiritually could talk to the animals and groove with them and all that. And that sounds far-fetched because we're all the way lost in this aspect of the physical life. And it's so much more benefits. And it's so much more exciting when you're living in the spiritual aspect of the life. Communicating with the animals and learning their way in the things they know. Because all living beings, the plants, the animals, they all hold knowledge just like you do. You live life, you experience, that's knowledge. They have that also. And if you could communicate with them, you can receive from them. And it's a beautiful, deep thing. And the life is like a movie. It's entertaining from the spiritual aspect. And you don't have to reach and pull and create drama and all these weird things so that it's entertaining. So, like in a physical, you have to have fights and arguments and all these goofy things to make it entertaining. But with the spiritual aspect of life and just to be able to understand an animal, like truly the way they understand each other, in your mind that would be way more exciting than anything you could watch on TV. If I could touch your head and in that instance you could communicate with all animals on this planet, or I could give you a remote control to watch anything you want to watch. We all know what everyone would pick. And this is crazy because that's how it truly is. You picked what you like. You lost in the physical. This is why I tell you got to learn from the life, learn from observation. The first thing you need to observe is how we're disconnected and we're going a whole nother flow away. This is why nothing's being received. If I'm talking to you and you're walking that way, you ain't going to hear nothing I'm saying. And this is how it is with the life. So we just have to understand little phrases and goofy things we have, they mean something. The work of the devil, it means something. Whether you believe in devil or God, that still means something. And it's breaking down the physical aspect of things and how we're disconnected. It's a deep thing you have to grasp. It's just like with ancient Egypt. I don't even know if I should break this down to y'all because y'all so controversial and argumentative. But we all know the symbol of ancient Babylon was the lion. All kings held that symbol from ancient Babylon. In the gates of Babylon, you had the lion erected there. Now, when you go to ancient Egypt, the first thing you see, when you go to the city of Cairo or wherever the pyramids are, you see the Sphinx, which was a lion before the head was carved into the face of a man. So you have to grasp, at one point in time, Egypt was a part of Babylon. It was a city in Babylon. It's a deep thing you have to grasp. Lions were not the image or the face for Egypt. A lion wasn't the face of the image for Egypt. Yet you had the Sphinx right there at the entrance, just like it was described in ancient Babylon. But most people don't read Sumerian history, which is the Enuma Elish and all these different things. Most people don't deal with Sumerian history, not because they don't deal with it, but many people don't even know about it. When I came speaking about the Enuma Elish and ancient Sumer when I first came, because this is what I came with. All the brothers was teaching ancient Kemetic. People were teaching Christianity and more history and all different types of history, but no one was touching on ancient Sumer and Assyria and all the nations that came from it, which is intertwined with Chem. A lot of people don't know that, but this is how that's how that was. The ancient city of Babylon had the lion. And in Chem, you have the same thing. And the two, it's a deep thing you have to grasp. But I know a lot of people, spirits is all argumentative. It's just like the image of the Ankh. If you're an ancient Kemetic person, then an ancient Kemetic scholar, then you know that according to the story, Set cut off Osir's or Osiris's penis, and he chopped them up into a bunch of pieces. And Set found all the pieces except for the penis. Or did she find the penis last? However the story go, the penis was a big part of the story. This is how she had Horus. And that's what the Ankh truly is. It's made in the image of Osir's penis. Now this has nothing to do with what the meaning is, but the Ankh is a symbol to go along or coalesce with that story. Divine knowledge. Like I said, the Ankh means knowledge, but people think it means eternal life. But whatever you feel like it means is fine. Just know that the image came from Set cutting off Osir's dick and balls, and Set finding the pieces. This is what the symbol of the Ankh image was made out of in ancient times, because y'all tend to lose sight of timeline. So before it became what it is today, it was something else. And before that point in time, it was something else. But the Ankh coalesces with the story of Osir. You know that. And you know his dick and balls was cut off. And you know an Ankh circle, dick and balls. Now I know some people say, no, it's the image of the penis coming into the vagina. Well, vaginas are not in the shape of balls, so you can just get that out your mind. Now, I don't want to argue or be controversial. You can believe whatever you want. I've heard all the theories that y'all push out. I didn't come from another planet, so I heard everything y'all teach already. And no, the Ankh means eternal life, and I heard all of that. It's the penis going into the vagina, blase, blase. I've heard all of that. But it's truly the dick and balls of Osir, and this is how you got the divine understandings and the makings of things like the key and all of these things. Because dick and balls is basically the key to the vagina. The vagina is the lock. So this is how you got the idea of that technology that was made, the lock and key, from the vagina and the penis. And that's what the Ankh was made in the image of, Osir's penis and balls. And it's a deep thing. It's a lot of knowledge that's just, it's a little confused. But I can clear up many things because it's not that complicated. It's very simple. There was one more thing I wanted to share with y'all before I end this video, but it slipped my mind. What was it? It was a very deep thing. Very deep. Told y'all about the pyramids and all of that. It was so deep, I don't want to end the video without breaking that down, because it was a deep thing. But I can't quite remember. Yeah, it seems to have slipped my mind. Sorry about that, but there was a great deal of knowledge given in this video. Hopefully you'll quiet it. It's your main man, the wise one, Mr. Solace. Y'all be groovy. Enjoy this beautiful day.